The lobby was quiet, polished, and expensive, the kind of place where million-dollar decisions are made before lunchtime. He stepped inside, dressed simply, confidently, expecting nothing more than a routine meeting. But before he could reach the elevator, a hand shot out to block his path. I scanned him, judged him, dismissed him. Within seconds, he was treated like he didn't belong. Like his presence was a mistake, a threat, an inconvenience. What no one in that building realized was that the man they were stopping wasn't just a visitor. He was the reason the building was about to secure a $15 million future. And in the next few minutes, one decision, made on prejudice instead of facts, would cost someone everything. The question is, who would pay the real price? Marcus Hill wasn't a loud man. He didn't need to be. Years of discipline, long nights, and quiet resilience had shaped him into someone who let results speak first. He grew up in a neighborhood where opportunity was rare and expectations were even lower, but he refused to let that define him. Scholarships, internships, missed holidays, endless flights, he climbed every rung the hard way. Now, after years of building, negotiating, and proving himself in rooms where he was often the only black face at the table, Marcus was hours away from finalizing the biggest deal of his career, a $15 million partnership that would expand his company nationwide. It wasn't just business, it was validation. For his late mother who worked double shifts, for every door that had quietly closed in his face. That morning, he chose a simple suit, nothing flashy. He didn't believe power needed to announce itself. The downtown building where the meeting was scheduled was sleek, towering, and intimidating to most. Marcus had walked into buildings like it countless times. He knew the subtle glances, the silent calculations, the assumptions. Still, he believed today would be different. Today was about growth, about legacy. He stepped through the revolving doors, calm and focused, unaware that before he could even reach the elevator, someone inside had already decided he didn't belong there. The man stepped in front of Marcus just as he approached the elevator bank. Not a polite redirection, not a courteous question, a physical stop, an outstretched arm, firm and deliberate. The lobby didn't go silent, but it changed. Conversations softened, eyes lifted. People watched without wanting to look like they were watching. Marcus paused, confused but composed. He explained he had a scheduled meeting on the executive floor. A major one. Time-sensitive. The manager's expression didn't shift. Instead, his gaze traveled slowly over Marcus's suit, his shoes, his face. Not searching for confirmation, searching for doubt. There was no request to see confirmation from the other executives upstairs. No call to verify the meeting. Just an assumption. Marcus felt it instantly. That subtle but familiar tightening in his chest. The awareness that this wasn't about protocol. Others were walking past them freely, badges barely checked, names barely asked. But Marcus was being held. The manager's tone hardened. Policy, procedures, security concerns. Words that sounded official, but felt selective. Marcus reached for his phone, ready to pull up emails, confirmations, proof. His fingers remained steady, but his pulse wasn't. Around them, the elevator doors opened and closed. Opened and closed. Each chime a reminder that time was slipping away. $15 million. Months of negotiation. Investors waiting upstairs. And he was being treated like an intruder. The manager shifted his stance, blocking him again when Marcus tried to step aside. A subtle move, but unmistakable. The message was clear: you don't belong here. Heat rose behind Marcus's calm exterior. Not loud anger. Not explosive frustration. The kind that burns quietly, the kind built from years of similar moments. The extra scrutiny. The unnecessary checks. The polite smiles that never quite reached the eyes. The humiliation wasn't loud. It was surgical. Precise. Designed to question his legitimacy without ever saying the words outright. He asked for verification again. Calmly. Respectfully. The manager refused to move. Minutes passed. Upstairs, executives were gathering around a conference table. Assistants were glancing at watches. A deal that would reshape the company's future sat waiting for one signature. And in the lobby, Marcus stood alone. A security guard appeared near the front desk. Marcus noticed it. So did everyone else. Then his phone vibrated in his hand. The name lighting up the screen belonged to one of the board members already seated upstairs. Marcus answered the call. The board member's voice was sharp, urgent. They were waiting. Investors were seated. The legal team was ready. Where was he? Marcus didn't lower his voice. He didn't step aside. Instead, he calmly explained that he was being prevented from reaching the executive floor. A pause. Confusion on the other end. Then the question that shifted everything. Prevented by who? The manager's confidence didn't break, at least not yet. He stood firm, certain he was enforcing order. Certain he was protecting the building from someone who didn't fit. Marcus slowly turned his phone so the manager could hear the voice spilling through the speaker. The board member asked to speak directly to whoever was blocking the CEO from entering his own building. The word hung in the air. CEO. The security guard stiffened. The receptionist froze mid-typing. Conversations nearby died without ceremony. The manager's face drained of certainty first, then color. Marcus didn't raise his tone. He didn't gloat. He didn't even move. He simply held the phone steady as reality unfolded in real time. Upstairs, the deal wasn't waiting for a guest. It was waiting for him. The man who had just been treated like a threat owned controlling interest in the company, signing the $15 million agreement. The silence in the lobby became suffocating. Every second replayed itself in the manager's mind. The blocking arm, the suspicion, the refusal to verify. The assumptions, all of it built on one unspoken belief. Marcus ended the call. For a brief moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Power hadn't shifted. It had been there the entire time. The manager stepped aside. Not confidently. Not gracefully. Just slowly, like the weight of what had happened was pressing down on his shoulders. Apologies came quickly after that. Policy explanations. Misunderstandings. Words that sounded smaller now than they had minutes earlier. Marcus didn't argue. He didn't lecture. He simply walked past him and toward the elevator that had been opening and closing without him. When the doors shut, the lobby exhaled. Upstairs, the meeting resumed. The deal was signed. Hands were shaken. Cameras flashed. On paper, it was a victory, a $15 million expansion that would make headlines. But Marcus felt no triumph, because success had not shielded him. Title hadn't protected him. Ownership hadn't exempted him. For a few long minutes in that lobby, none of that mattered. All that mattered was how he was perceived. Later, policies were reviewed. Conversations about bias became urgent. The manager's future with the company became uncertain. But none of it erased the moment itself, the quiet humiliation of being told, without words, that he didn't belong. And that's the part that lingers. Because Marcus's story isn't rare. It's just rarely witnessed from beginning to end. Every day, in offices, stores, neighborhoods, and boardrooms, someone is measured by assumption before they are seen for who they truly are. The question isn't whether prejudice still exists. It's this: how many doors are still being closed, simply because of who's standing in front of them? And when will we finally decide to open them?